Hey friends, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. This time we are visiting the Big Easy, New Orleans. Chapter 1. A toast, Dad bellowed, his voice carrying over the brass trumpet solo. We raised our glasses, beer mugs, champagne flutes, whatever was closest. Tonight we celebrated on a riverboat called the City of New Orleans, currently docked along the Mississippi under the lights of the Big Easy, the Crescent City, City of Jazz, City of Mystery. Always New Orleans. A city I had left 2 years ago, but New Orleans always finds a way to pull you back. Through Cajun spice, Creole soul, French-Spanish fusion, and the promise of Mardi Gras excess. Early May, mosquito season just beginning. Fireflies bobbed at the edges of the river, the air thick with fried fish and gumbo. New Orleans. Pay attention, everyone, because I'll only say this once, Dad announced, grinning at his own importance. Yet his eyes always flashed with annoyance whenever he glanced my way. To the son I'm proud of. I smiled, pretending not to notice the dig. I'm gay, single, no plans for marriage, no kids. Mom says she accepts it. Dad thinks I'm abandoning his legacy. That's me, Joel McMurphy, the rainbow-colored black sheep of the family. Dad pretty much ignored me in favor of the son who will give him an heir. He's doing it tonight, just like he's done for years. And to the happy couple, may their 401ks always appreciate, Dad roared, earning groans and laughter. His idea of romance, compound interest, accounted humor. President of McMurphy and Son, not Sons, which is why we could afford a proposal party on a riverboat. My 26-year-old brother, Franklin McMurphy, and his fiancée, Selena Henderson, are the golden pair. Franklin is the man with the golden fleece, Dad's saint who walks on water. I'm just the 30-year-old older brother who doesn't fit the mold. I'm an IT tech, into computers. Ironically, the things they use the most, but never think about it. A cluster of women, Mom among them, leaned in, voices raising in a chorus of delight. Selena's ring glittered under the bar lights, a 1.5-carat natural diamond, haloed by emeralds, perched in a princess setting. Impressive, no denying that, regal even, the Queen of Hearts, except green instead of red. The best Dad's money could buy. The jazz swelled, the boat gently rocked, and I sipped my hurricane, a New Orleans favorite, born not of Katrina's devastation, but Pat O'Brien's legendary bar of the 1940s. Rum, passion fruit, citrus. It's sweet, strong, and dangerous. Orson, my best friend, sat at the bar sipping wine alone. Stocky, short, built from weights and stubbornness, his suit didn't quite button, collar undone beneath his tie, cuffs shoved up like he was ready for a fight. Straight hair, a nose bent from a bad tackle years ago, and a mouth that always quirked left, as if he knew the joke, but refused to share. Orson was the junkyard dog you didn't cross. Loyal if he knew you, brutal if you betrayed him. And I found him irresistible, and sexy, and funny, and I've told him. He laughed and bought me a beer. I slid onto the stool beside him, raised my glass for a refill, and asked, "Any potentials?" He smirked. "No, if I stay here much longer, even your ugly butt would look good." I arched a brow. "Let me buy you another, big boy." He snickered. "You'd go broke before I let you take me home, but I'll accept the free drink." Orson was straight as a goalpost. Dad's voice carried across the room, something almost gleeful about it. "Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?" Chapter 2. "Selena's pregnant?" Orson asked, draining the last of his wine in one gulp. I nodded, My brother doesn't believe in protection. His religion says it's a sin. Doesn't Scripture say, be fruitful and multiply? Well, he's multiplying. Orson grunted. I guess you've got the fruit part covered. Funny. Dad called for attention. I'm starting a college fund for our newest member. By the time they're 18, it will be a free ride, a legacy I'll build for all my grandchildren. Your dad's at it again, Orson muttered. I've got to get out of here before Dad disinherits me, I muttered back. Orson snickered. Or marries you off to his partner's daughter. I hear she's ravishing for a middle-aged woman twice divorced. When are you due? Mom squealed at Selena. Time to go before my eyes rolled out of my head. Catch you later, lover boy, I said. This party spilled into the night, but I'd had enough of Dad's jokes and Franklin's halo. I asked the bartender for a Go Cup, and he poured my half-finished hurricane into plastic. That's New Orleans for you. No one bats an eye when you walk out with rum and passion fruit in hand. Half the crowd probably had their own. The riverboat lights glowed behind me as I stepped onto the riverfront. The Mississippi carried its own music, low and steady, while the French Quarter pulsed a few blocks away. Fireflies flickered like sparks, and the air smelled of beer, sweat, and fried oysters. Orson caught up, his white wine sloshing in a plastic cup. You know, he said, smirking, this city makes it too easy to keep drinking. I raised my cup. The Big Easy. They don't call it that for nothing. You wish you were easy. I saluted Orson with my plastic cup. Tonight's the last night of the jazz festival. They're having a party in Jackson Square. That's about 5 minutes from here. Chapter 3. New Orleans knows how to party, especially at the close of the yearly jazz festival. The looming facade of the St. Louis Cathedral towered nearly 13 stories above Jackson Square, its 3 spires bright against the night sky. An icon of faith and resilience, built and rebuilt since its founding in 1720, it stood as the city's eternal sentinel. At the center of the square, the bronze statue of General Andrew Jackson reared triumphantly, horse poised and head high, a lasting symbol of victory at the Battle of New Orleans. The plaza, normally sedate, had been blocked off by police. No cars allowed. Instead, music spilled into the night. Bands scattered across the square, showcasing jazz, brass, gospel, and blues, some polished, some simply enthusiastic. Artists sat at easels sketching quick portraits, their finished canvases clipped to the iron fences. Mimes teased the crowds, acrobatic clowns flipped for children, guitar huskers strummed ragged chords. A fire spitter drew gasps, 10-foot flames burst from his mouth, while fortune tellers shuffled cards under lantern light. Tarot readers whispered secrets to wide-eyed tourists. At the far end, a van advertised WWOZ 90.7 FM, the Jazz and Heritage Station. Beneath a tent, radio personalities blasted even more music, their voices weaving into the night's cacophony. Food trucks lined the edge of the square, po' boys, tacos, and fried seafood baskets sizzling into the night air. This looks like fun, I yelled, grabbing Orson's hand and pulling him into the chaos. The shirtless fire spitter took a quick swallow of turpentine. Somebody yelled, "Don't try this at home." He spat into a candle, and flames burst 15 feet into the air. The crowd roared. Somewhere in the darkness, kids lit firecrackers, their sharp snaps startling dogs on leashes. Orson pointed. 2 men riffed on guitars while another made magic pour from his trombone. We pushed through the crowd, found a seat, and let the music wash over us. Someone shoved me. Light, accidental. Orson gripped my shoulders to steady me. He had always been the strong one, the man who let me talk. We wandered toward a fortune-teller's tent, lanterns glowing, incense curling in the humid air. A classic tarot deck was on her table. She wore a crystal necklace. Classic shyster, Orson muttered. But why not? We got time. I pulled out cash. What's in my future? I said to the lady. Chapter 4. She shuffled 3 times, spread the cards. Choose 5, place them in a cross. Do not look. The middle card is you. I did as she asked. She turned the center card. The Fool inverted. You must be careful. Something isn't as it seems. The card to the right. 5 of Wands. Conflict brews in your immediate future. The card above. 5 of Swords. The conflict worsens. You will lose. Sounds like my brother's wedding, I muttered. Odds are I'm not even a groomsman. No matter what I do, I can't win. Orson's voice was flat. We both know they'll find a way to keep you away. Babysitter, I said. The fortune teller turned to the card to the left. 2 of Cups, an ally, masculine energy, someone close. You'll finally have a boyfriend, Orson teased. Shut it, I said, elbowing him to make my point. The last card, the Hanged Man. Tonight, you will surrender to him. Orson snickered. Hate to break it to you, life doesn't have happy endings. Case in point, your brother and his fiancée. The fortune teller held out her hand for more money. Do you want to know your fortune? She asked. No. Orson took my hand and pulled me back into the night. As we turned to leave, a card slipped from the table and fell on the floor. The tower inverted, she said. The fortune teller immediately crossed herself. What's that mean? I asked. Bad things are going to happen. Chapter 5. We stopped at the taco truck. Nuestra Madre de los Tacos al Pastor. Mother of pork tacos. Inspired by shawarma, it's marinated pork spun on a spit, sliced into corn tortillas, topped with onions, cilantro, and pineapple. The scent of grilled pineapple floated sharply on the air. The salsa fresca was hot enough to clean pipes. And it was good. We ate while a reggae blues band riffed under the humid night air. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Where are you? Your father wants to make a grand announcement. Orson held my plate of tacos while I typed. Jackson Square. Big party going on. Food is amazing. Tell her you're waiting for your new boyfriend. Psychics aren't ever wrong, Orson whispered, eyes glinting, mouth smirking. I rolled my eyes but added, waiting for someone, before hitting send. What do you think your dad's up to? Orson asked. I shrugged, taking my plate back. Something special for my brother. He's the son Dad always wanted. Franklin is the heir. I'm just the placeholder. You okay with that? A flicker of old jealousy surfaced. It gets annoying, but I don't have a choice. Do you want to go back to your family's party? That's when I crossed the line, though I didn't know it until later. Orson was my best friend. We'd known each other since after college. He was straight, very straight. I talked him through breakups. We traveled together. In many ways, I was closer to him than my own brother. So what I did wasn't just crossing the line. I stomped on it. 2 guitars wailed against each other, just like my thoughts. I got a whiff of Orson's cologne. Something sharp, citrus, enough to wake something I thought long buried. The salsa still burned my mouth. Teasing, but not exactly teasing, I leaned in and whispered, I'd rather stay with you, love. Then kissed him on the cheek. Chapter 6. Orson's face hardened, lips pressed together. His face blushed, the faint color of a sunrise gone wrong. What's the old poem? Red skies at morning, lovers are scorning? A moment of silence. Cringe silence. I barely mumbled, sorry. Then another text came. I glanced down, glad for the break. Orson cleared his throat. His voice caught, Your mom or dad? Again? Read it. Mom texted, Are you on your way? You're missing your brother's celebration. This is important. You, going to run back? Orson asked. I'll stay here, less judgy, I replied. Orson smiled, but I couldn't read his eyes. I thought for a moment and then sent, hard pass. Better yet, just give Franklin everything. It's what will happen anyway. As I was sliding my phone into my pocket, a ragtime jazz band began playing, When the Saints. With trumpets and trombones and acoustic guitars, a trio of women began singing the lyrics. Not sure, but I think that's the unofficial state anthem. People cheered. Everyone joined in, a drunken harmony. Orson and I left the crowd in favor of the bar across from St. Louis Cathedral. Muriel's on Jackson Square. Literally, its balcony overlooks the plaza. The corner entrance of Muriel's glowed against the red brick, its black wrought iron balcony strung with lights that flickered like captured stars. The glow softened the iron's permanence, turning it festive and warm. Inside, beige walls and olive green trim muted the noise of Jackson Square, a hush after the brass and drunken harmony outside. Every table wore a cloth, crisp and formal, as if the room itself demanded civility. I felt the shift immediately. Not the orderly world of Dad and his numbers, but it wasn't chaos either. It was a liminal space, a balcony between worlds. Orson disappeared toward the restroom, leaving me alone with the weight of the tablecloths and the buzz of my phone. Another text from Mom. The preview said, "Hurry." Chapter 7. Your dad wants to make his announcement. We need you here, now. I thought of all the things I could say. How one Christmas, Dad got Franklin a new bike. What did he do with Franklin's old bike? To save money, Dad placed a bow on it and gave it to me. Or how Franklin received $50 for every A? With me, good grades was expected. I complained about it before, but it would sound like whining if I did it again. I simply sent, have other plans. Tell Franklin congratulations. Mom sent back, honey, we need you. It's a family thing. I replied with a simple, sorry. When my phone buzzed again, I didn't check. Orson came back, the oddest furrow in his brow. It was 45 minutes before they gave us a seat. Balcony seating had been reserved for weeks, but several indoor tables were available. They sat us at one of the big windows, giving us a great view of the St. Louis Cathedral. Orson leaned back, looking at his hands. His lips pursed. You've been quiet, I said. I'm sorry about the kiss. It was a mistake. Are we okay? Again, he remained quiet. The waiter returned and took our orders. We'd eaten at the festival, so we ordered drinks. He had a whiskey sour. I had a rum and coke. Once the waiter left, Orson looked at me, his dark eyes serious, maybe cautious. I know I crossed the line, I murmured. Orson leaned forward. That you did. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future. I promise. He swallowed and held his drink, but only stared at it. I want to try it again. My world stopped. Completely froze. I had no idea what to say, so I let the words dribble out. You want me to kiss you on the cheek again? Orson sort of smiled. Is it different kissing a guy than kissing a girl? Girls don't grow beards. Be serious, Orson said. Have you ever kissed a girl? Does family count? No. When I kissed a girl, this was years ago, it was an exercise. I was nervous, it was fun, but that's all it was. And kissing a guy? I looked down. It was embarrassing because, You got a little excited? Orson's smile lingered, but his eyes stayed serious. The tablecloth between us felt heavier than it should, a barrier as much as a setting. Outside, the cathedral spires cut into the night sky, rigid and unmoving. I pressed my palms flat against the cloth, trying to steady myself. Yeah, I said finally, too excited. How excited did you get? I didn't want to admit anything else, so I remained silent. Orson nodded. His smile flashed and then vanished. The moment hung there, awkward and raw, but Orson didn't flinch. He leaned forward, his voice low. You man enough to make that mistake again? Chapter 8. A waiter carrying a tray of fried catfish passed us, setting it down 2 tables away. I moved my seat next to Orson's. Are you sure? I've always wanted to kiss him, but was too respectful of boundaries. Our friendship was sacred, and I didn't want to ruin it. What if you hate me? I asked, quietly. A woman across the phone answered her phone, gesturing wildly at a picture of an old woman on the wall. I don't think she saw the picture. Worst case scenario, Orson replied, sliding a finger along the condensation on the side of his glass. We promise never to speak of it again, then we get blind drunk. That feeling came. That one that's like a dark itch just below your stomach. The one that is both anticipation and fear. A dark excitement that something was about to happen. Something intimate. Something personal. Something that evolved from lust to passion to a fury raging in your soul that makes you forget all logic. Desire and nerves tangled inside me, demanding expression, demanding release. Orson leaned in. I held my breath. For him, it was innocent. For me, it was risk, fear, and desire. A brief hesitation just before our lips met. I licked my lips, both nervous and aroused. Passion ignited. Our lips met. Gentle, a sacred, fearful kiss. A skittish cat afraid to move, a heart afraid to feel. A sleeping spark that awoke, that grew, that demanded light. The soft talking around us faded. The jazz music outside no longer existed. The cathedral stood watch, as if guarding this moment. Orson reached up, held the back of my head. His lips parted and eyes closed. His lips relaxed, strong, sensitive lips that tasted of whiskey and forgotten hope. My hand rested on his chest. His heart beat strong, steady. The skin under his shirt, warm. My lips accepted his. They were hot, moist, almost eager. His tongue tickled my upper lip. I met it with mine. A fork clanked against a dish somewhere, but I barely noticed it. Orson's touch was more important. I melted into his arms as the hunger shredded my self-control. My back arched, shuddering in the moment. I gasped. The spark grew and enveloped us both. We parted, breathless, panting, our eyes locked, unblinking. The hunger in his gaze mirrored mine, and the gentle way he licked his lips told me he had felt it too. I dove into the space just under his ear, lightly kissing down to his collarbone, gently nuzzling until I tugged on his earlobe with my teeth. Orson chuckled. The waiter cleared his throat. This is a family dining affair, not the honeymoon suite. Please comport yourselves accordingly. Once Orson and I separated, the waiter walked to the next table. Joel? Orson asked, his eyes pleading. Did you get excited? Yeah. You? I whispered. He leaned closer, voice low, almost reverent. God, I didn't want to stop. Chapter 9. We were back at Jackson Square, lounging on a borrowed blanket, half nestled into each other. It was about 10, and none of the bands had quit. The air smelled of grilled chicken and something deep fried. The band in front of us was a trio of middle-aged musicians, blaring out honky-tonk like it was ancient history. The guy had just the right raspy drawl for it. Orson and I held hands, fingers tenderly intertwined, lightly talking about anything but the kiss. I suspect we were moments from losing control. The passion ran deep. The connection had become iron between us. "How long are you in town?" Orson asked. "A week. I'm taking vacation to see the old hometown." "You have a place to stay?" Orson asked. His voice hitched just before the end. "Just a hotel." My heartbeat increased. So did my blood pressure. Orson's voice caught, then steadying. I have a spare room. It overlooks Crescent Park. You'll see the rusty rainbow. That's an old bridge. It'll save you money. You can stay with me." His eyes flickered my way, slightly moist. He bit his lip and inhaled. The thought of waking up to the Mississippi shimmer, of sharing his space, made my pulse race even faster. "I'd like that," I said. We shared a smile, a smirk, and ended by leaning our heads together. "Is this happening too fast for you?" I asked. Orson took a deep breath and let it out slowly. It just feels, I don't know, right." For many minutes we leaned against each other, listening to the music, enjoying each other's presence, just being together. My phone rang. Franklin, my brother. I answered, only later realizing the mistake. I yelled, "Hello?" The band was so loud I couldn't hear him. I practically screamed, plugging my free ear against the brass, rattling my bones. "Congratulations on the engagement." It didn't work. I still couldn't make out Franklin's reply. "Listen, I can't hear you. I'm in Jackson Square. The bands are loud, but they're pretty good." The singer riffed honky-tonk all night long, and the crowd roared with him, drowning out everything else. Franklin said something again, muffled and lost in the noise. I shook my head, helpless. A moment later, the line went dead. We had 5 minutes to ourselves before my phone rang again. Franklin. "Hello, you'll have to shout," I said. Orson tapped my arm and pointed. Franklin stood at the edge of the square, looking for us. "We're about 50 feet straight ahead and to your right," I yelled. I waved my phone. Franklin saw it and carefully picked his way through the blankets and crowds enjoying the jazz. Some guy offered him a beer. He took it, and a minute later sat down beside us. We had to lean close to talk. "Why aren't you at your party?" Orson yelled, sitting up cross-legged. "Dad sent me to get you." "Why?" I yelled. "This is all about you." Franklin missed the sarcasm, or pretended not to notice. I was the firstborn, but always came number 2. Had my brother ever noticed, or Mom? Dad preferred the son who would give him a blood legacy. I wouldn't, at least not biologically. It was the same argument, the same endless circle. What it meant, Franklin would always win. I would always lose. With a flourish, the trumpet player let out a 30-second riff that could break glass. My ribs vibrated, my teeth cracked, and we all screamed in delight. The band became quiet as they took a quick water bottle break, and the noise in the square did not die. Plenty of other bands filled the air, even an accordion. Orson noted, "Never heard an accordion playing jazz." Franklin had gone silent. His eyes looked calculating. I don't know what Dad wants to do, but he refuses to say anything until we are both present. Orson took my hand. It gave me courage. "Dad is probably going to give you something, a car, or maybe stock percentage in his company. I don't know. Just smile, say thanks, and say you'll put it to good use. You don't need me. You won't come back? No. But what if he wants to give something to you? I wanted to say, when has he, but kept it light. This is your night. Be king of the party. You deserve it. You're just going to stay here? My brother asked. It's comfortable, Orson said. Chapter 10. Franklin didn't go far, just outside the square where it was quiet enough for him to call. He came back just as the band finished their break, their instruments twanging as they adjusted the tuning. Mom says it's important, he said. Orson glanced at me. Your dad has been waiting for more than an hour to make some stupid announcement at your brother's engagement and won't do it until you're both there? I smiled. The last time this happened, back when I graduated, they gave me a nice dinner in Grandpa's World War II watch. Doesn't even work. What did they do for your graduation, Franklin? Dad took me on a 10-day cruise. Plus airfare and hotel, say $4,000. Was I invited? I asked. No, you were working at the time. The bitterness, long dormant, festered. So I was given a broken watch worth maybe $200, while you were handed a trip costing $4,000. Franklin's eyes narrowed. What are you getting at? Simple, I said. To Dad, I'm worth 5% of you. Go enjoy your party and leave me alone. Franklin raised his hand. Dude, I can see why you're hostile, but don't take it out on me. Another point, Orson said. How much do you think your little party tonight cost? Who's paying for it? Why didn't Joel ever get one? Now you are exaggerating, Franklin protested. Dad isn't like that. You don't get it, I said. Dad doesn't want me there for me. He wants me there to watch you get something. You're his legacy. Just enjoy the night. Smile and say thank you. Franklin knelt to meet my eyes head on and said, Let's make a bet. I'm listening. If Dad does the same thing tonight, I'll buy you a drink. If he doesn't, you buy me one. A bottle of Parmesan VSOP, I said. Not a glass, a bottle. Premium whiskey it is, Franklin said. I'm only staying for 5 minutes and standing in the back, I said. Orson shook his head. You're crazy. Better share that bottle with me. Chapter 11. I can't believe I'm back aboard the riverboat, listening to old-time jazz. The band had wound down, their music sounding more like a funeral dirge than a celebration. Franklin had joined Selena, and they whispered about something. Mom noticed me. Her expression didn't waver. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't see warmth. She did point me out to Dad. He nodded. Once. Glanced to make sure I was around, then took a long sip from his champagne glass. Orson stood next to me, his hand barely touching mine. Let's talk later, he whispered. About the kiss? I asked. Was he having second thoughts about it? A person didn't decide to be bi or gay with only a kiss. I know what I'm doing, but I'm not that good. Seducing a straight guy only happened in gay rom-coms, but in real life, it had taken me years to have the courage to come out. There was no way somebody could switch at the snap of your fingers. Orson must be having second thoughts, maybe a shade bi-curious, but that's it. Maybe a one-time BFWB that ended with a casual connection. Still, it was a nice kiss. I was in heaven while it lasted. I have a six-pack in my fridge, Orson said. We can sit on my balcony and talk all night. For an answer, his little finger gently touched mine. Dad tapped the side of his glass with a knife. A soft clink, quickly silencing conversation. If I can have your attention. After a short wait for everyone to face him, Dad swallowed before he continued. Friends and family, thank you for coming. I've had to make a devastating decision, and I'm forced to step aside from the company I built. Last Friday, the doctors diagnosed me with stage 3 pancreatic cancer. Chemo begins in a week. The world stopped. It became hard to breathe. My hand found Orson's. Dad had cancer? The room became quieter. The faint hiss of the champagne bubbles became loud. A knife scraped against a plate, but no one spoke. My wife convinced me that it was time to pass the reins to another. Dad picked up Mom's hand and kissed it. Men, some advice. Always listen to your wife, especially when she is right. A slight chuckle rippled through the room. Franklin, Selena, please come up here, Dad said. My brother and his fiancée stepped next to my father. Dad placed an arm around my brother and said, Of my 2 sons, only one has the head for business, and I'm very proud of him. Franklin, you are my heir. I bequeath my business to you. Chapter 12. Dad's words weren't for me. They never were. Wow, Orson said, his hand firmly gripping mine. Your dad has cancer, gives Franklin the company, and he manages a sideways insult. Looks like your brother owes you a bottle of whiskey. I leaned over, keeping my voice low. I'm so annoyed at my dad I can't decide whether to feel sorry for him or hate him. Families are complicated, Orson replied, his voice also low. Do you want to grab the mic and say anything? I half smirked. And say what? Dad loves my brother more than me? It's not fair, but if I say anything, I look like an entitled child throwing a tantrum. A crowd had surrounded my father, brother, and his fiancée, offering sympathy and congratulations. Dad was in his element, the center of attention, the queen bee of the hive. Dad was Dad, even when critically ill. Should I stay or should I go? Once again, Dad had shown that my brother was the favored son. Would it look like I was begging for scraps if I tried talking to them? Would I look bitter and resentful if I just walked out? What would people think if I did nothing? I turned to Orson and asked, Why did Dad choose tonight to reveal his condition? Orson gave me that odd smirk. Karma's catching up to your brother. Your dad just upstaged the proposal party. I chuckled, even though I didn't see anything funny. What do you want to do? Orson asked. The jazz band had resumed, a livelier tune filled with dueling trumpets. More waiters brought us flutes filled with champagne. I declined. I had drunk enough tonight. All my life, I had waited for Dad to acknowledge me, to treat me with dignity, with respect, with love. A small part of me had hoped that tonight would be different, that he would actually show he cared. No such luck. Dad glanced my way. I met his gaze, unblinking, as if accepting his unspoken challenge. His smile faded. I didn't look away, just returned that look as if we were communicating on a deeper level. I remembered how disappointed he had been when I came out back in high school. After that night, he had cooled towards me. Dad always had time to give dating advice to Franklin, but barely said hello to me. Always had time to go to Franklin's baseball games, but didn't come to my science fairs unless Franklin was also participating. My throat tightened as our stare continued. When Dad looked at me, what did he see? Not a guy good with computers. Did he see dreams of a future now dead? A wasted legacy? Disappointment that I wasn't what he envisioned as the ideal son? Had me being gay been a barrier we couldn't get through? Did he resent me because I dated guys? Dad had grown old, pale, his hair had thinned. The energetic man I remembered from my youth had been replaced by a worn-out frazzle, a shirt laundered too many times and ready to fall apart. His mouth opened, almost as if he wanted to say something. Somebody asked him a question. Dad broke our connection, accepting a champagne glass. The moment passed. The band changed tunes. The smell of rum invaded the air. I wasn't part of Dad's circle, and never would be. Maybe it was time to create my own. I led Orson up to Dad and said, "I'm sorry to hear about the cancer. If you need anything, let me know. We're family." His eyebrows rose a fraction, eyes narrowing just a little. My politeness surprised him. I turned to Franklin and smirked. "I win the bet." Franklin froze, comprehension freezing his smile, as he realized what that actually meant. He stammered, then finally mumbled, "Oh God, I'm sorry." It was the only apology I'd ever get from my family. I wanted to say, "Told you so," but I kept quiet. The look about his eyes might have meant that he heard it anyway. "What was the bet about?" Dad asked, all smiles for the audience, yet oddly forced when facing me. I met his eyes and matched his smile. "I bet Franklin that you'd play favorites again and give him everything while ignoring me, just like every single other time since high school. Guess what? I won a bottle of whiskey for being right." Dad's smile deflated. His eyes sagged, perhaps the weight of his choices dragging them down. Selena's mouth closed. She lifted her foot, momentarily separating from the conversation, and adjusted her black, glossy high heel. "Congratulations, Franklin, Selena," I said. "I'm happy for both of you." Out of earshot, Orson whispered, "You see their reaction? I don't think our definition of family is the same as theirs. Just saying." We left after that, but not before I gave the glance at Orson. You know the kind, the one that promises things that are best left unsaid. The kind that meant the night was just getting started. "You look dangerous," he said. A slow smile simmered on his lips as we walked to my car. "Should I be afraid?" Chapter 13. Making love to a friend you've known for years was intense. Maybe the proper phrase is that Orson made love to me. We lay in the pre-dawn bed, knowing that everything had changed, though in many ways nothing had. We had sequestered ourselves in Orson's third-floor condo. I could see Crescent Park stretching along the river as it lazily swam by, the rusty rainbow bridge arching overhead. Funny, I thought. The rainbow was mine, but in this city it had already gone rusty. We didn't talk about moving in together, nor combining finances, or even a second date. We spoke about baseball, favorite teams. Mine was the Houston Astros. His were the Los Angeles Dodgers. I reminded him that the Astros had swept the last time the two teams faced off. Orson's response came with a half smile, equal parts challenge and promise. They were on top last night. We didn't get out of bed until noon, didn't get out of the shower until the water turned cold, and didn't make breakfast until 4 in the afternoon. Somewhere between scrambling eggs and peeling potatoes, somebody knocked. A sharp, insistent knock. I half jumped, startled. "Expecting anyone?" Orson looked at me. "No. A delivery, but that isn't due until tomorrow." I shrugged. "Would you get that? You're wearing pants, love." He snickered, turned, and opened the door. My brother stormed in, Selena slightly behind him, cradling a bottle of Palmason VSOP like a baby. "Why haven't you answered? We've been calling." I took the frying pan off the burner to keep the eggs from overcooking, guarding my tone so my annoyance wouldn't show. "It's called Do Not Disturb mode for a reason. How did you find me?" "Since you were with Orson, I figured you were staying with him," Franklin said, his tone sharp. "And your car's out front." "You found him," Orson said. "What do you want?" "I need a favor, and your family. my brother said, his smile a little too sincere. Seeing my brother's smug look brought the anger out. Wasn't your little party last night enough? Do you have to rub it in, being Dad's favorite, in my face? I'm tired of this family. Somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed, Selena muttered. My brother folded his arms and leaned on one hip, the victim pose. Bro, you haven't even heard what I'm asking. Beware of pit bulls bearing gifts, Orson said, shoving his hands into his pockets. Just hear me out, Franklin said. Franklin glanced at Orson. Orson wore pants but no shirt, and I was in a white tank and boxer briefs. Franklin's face flushed pink, shades that would have made a sunset jealous. I think he just figured out he's intruding. Awkward timing. Let's come back later, Selena whispered, setting the bottle of whiskey on the side table. Franklin, I said, you've never come to me for a favor, advice, a beer, or anything. Ever. You've only gone to Dad. It's different now, Franklin said, speaking fast before I stopped him. Dad's priorities changed. He's thinking of hiring a full-time nurse to take care of him, and a short-term maid to help around the house. He expects his finances will be tied up in medical bills and the legal transfer of the business. Dad apologized, but he's backing out of the wedding. Makes sense, Orson said. Cancer rearranges your life. Cousin had it. Chemo's hell. Franklin swallowed. His smile disappeared, and he glanced at his shoes. We need help with the wedding. You're asking for my help? I mumbled. That's a first. We're family, Selena said, her tone becoming warm. Wedding planning, cake design, chair placement, things like that, Orson growled. We have a vision, Selena said, smiling softly. My parents can't afford it. You're independent, Joe. You don't have the same obligations as Franklin. We thought maybe you could help. An odd turn of words. It came across as if she were speaking to a child. My mind took a step back. The phrase independent was accurate, but it held a hidden meaning for them. Were they playing a game? Replace the word independent with the word gay, and the fog began to clear. Why was the word gay a barrier for my family? Because they thought themselves better than me. I moved the eggs to a cold burner and turned the heat off. The lightness and joy of the day turned heavy and dark. Orson got that serious look that meant he suspected trouble. Are you trying to say that Joel is cheap without making it sound like an insult? Hell, I tell Joel that all the time. Joel, you're cheap. See? No reaction. He already knows it and doesn't care. I'm careful with money if that's what you're getting at, I said. I'm no accountant, but I know practical finances. Do you need a second look of eyes to look at your budget and see what's not working? I can organize it on spreadsheets and see where you're hemorrhaging. Did it for Orson last summer. Showed me how I can afford more beer and that pay-for-view sports channel I wanted. Franklin glanced at his fiancée. That's not exactly what we need. Best man? Joel in a tux? This I gotta see, Orson replied. No, I've asked my friend from college to cover that, Franklin said. Then what? I asked. But I began to suspect. A knot of dread opened in my stomach. Dad's announcement last night had hit my brother where it hurt, and now he came to me. My fist clenched. I should have seen this coming. We need you to cover some of the fees, Franklin said. How much? Both Orson and I asked at the same time. The eggs cooled in the pan, just like I was cooling toward my family. Now I understood what gay meant to them. It meant I'd never have kids or a real family. Since I would never have a real family, there must be stacks of money somewhere because I didn't spend it on a real family. Why not give it to Franklin, since I wasn't going to use it? Franklin wasn't here out of love. He wanted free cash. We need $30,000, Selena said. Chapter 14. Let me get this right, Orson said, walking over and filling a plate with eggs. Franklin, you and your dad haven't had much to do with your brother, Joel, because he's independent. Orson set his plate down to place air quotes around independent. Now, because Joel's independent and doesn't have a family, obviously, he must have a large bank account. And because he's independent, he'll happily give it to you free of charge because he's an independent kind of guy. Selena rubbed her toe against the back of her leg and looked at Franklin. Orson turned to me. Isn't your brother supposed to be the smart one in the family? It's why your dad gave him the business. Isn't he supposed to be able to do that many thing with the spreadsheets like you do and figure out his own budget, right? No matter what I do, Franklin said, the numbers won't fit. We need more money. Dad won't have it because of the cancer. Selena's parents have given us 15 grand, but that isn't enough. Joel, you're family. You have to help us. I looked first at Selena, then at my brother, then finally at Orson. They have completely missed the point by asking the wrong question. Orson took a bite of eggs. These are good. Sour cream? I nodded. Damn it, Joel, Franklin yelled. What is the right question? Do I even have an extra $30,000 lying around that I could donate or even loan? No. Is whatever I have tied up in a completely different project that I can't touch? Yes, and it's not 30,000. Sorry. Both Franklin and Selena deflated. You can't help us then? Franklin asked. Financially, no, I said. My offer still stands to take a look at your budget and help you figure out how to make everything fit with the cash you have. That is, if you'll take help from an independent person. Do you want to join us for breakfast and we'll talk about it? It's 5 p.m, Selena said. We're just getting out of bed, Orson said. Are the potatoes done yet? My brother smiled, a warm, genuine smile. Could you put some pants on first? Chapter 15. Sunset. Franklin and Selena had left, but we promised to meet next Saturday to look at their budget. Orson and I were walking along the paths of Crescent Park, meandering toward the pedestrian bridge known as the Rusty Rainbow Bridge. Won't you be gone by Saturday? Orson asked, an odd depth to his tone. I've been thinking of transferring to New Orleans. There's an opening I'm trying for. Is that why your money is tied up? A big move? Kind of, but not really. Shyly, Orson took my hand. I don't mind if you stay with me. I know it's kind of sudden. Thanks. I leaned over and kissed his nose. You didn't ask the right question. Orson's eyebrows shot up. What is the right question? What is my money tied up in? I replied. Okay, all right. Joel, what is your money tied up in? I smiled. I want to take a 2-week trip to Paris. Do you want to come? Thank you for joining me on our trip to New Orleans. It's been fun. For more stories, visit my other channel at Loud and Proud L3Q. I'm Gio, and I'm glad you stopped by. I love you all. Peace, my friends.